evening, Canterbury. Welcome to NewsMakers, where we debate the stories of the week. It's a pleasure to introduce our esteemed panel, the Dean of Christ Church Cathedral, the Very Reverend Peter Beck, from Duncan Cotterill partner Garth Gallaway, and the High Priest of Port Levy, law teacher David Round. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to start with a couple of legislative measures that seem to have alarmed civil libertarians this week. First of all, a Christchurch initiative that is being led by Detective Inspector Malcolm Johnston. He is drafting a proposal which is based on a recent law change in the UK, which would essentially remove the right to silence in child abuse cases. Should we follow the UK lead? Garth?
No, we shouldn't, in my view. You probably should have gone to David, who's got copious amounts of notes beside him and is clearly prepared for this. But no, I don't think we should. I think it's a slippery slope. If we remove the right to silence in cases like this, then there will be cases put where we remove it in other examples. It's a fundamental right and a plank of our judicial system. It should not go, and the fact that they are child sex cases, in my view, doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So an emphatic no from the legal profession, I think you'll find.
Obviously top of mind is the Type 12 family members, namely Kauhui. Does that bother you, that there is no conviction?
Of course it bothers me. It's awful, but it's not a reason why you should change the system. And I'm not sure that would have made any difference in that case in any way. The right to silence, I mean, a person can still lie. They're given, or they just simply answer questions by saying, I don't know.
There was stonewalling there, though.
Of course there was, and that's a reflection of those people, and it was reprehensible. But I don't think that a change that's being proposed here would get rid of that stonewalling. That was an unusual case, and clearly a collaboration of a number of people. I don't think this change gets around that at all. I just think it makes it a lot harder for defendants.
David?
I agree with my learned colleague, Mike. Child abuse is a dreadful crime. I mean, no one's going to argue with that. But at the same time, there are great possibilities for injustice here. Look at poor Peter Ellis, for example, clearly innocent. There are other cases of historic child abuse, allegations of things that happened 10, 20 years ago, where I'm afraid sometimes you can't help but wonder how much truth there is in the accusations. There's great scope for injustice and hysteria, and this, if anything, is going to make it worse.
So you would not change the law?
I would not.
Are you surprised the UK did? I mean, we take our lead from the Westminster system. Are you surprised that they brought in, what do they call it, a culpable parenting law?
That's what they're calling it,
Yeah. Are you surprised they did it?
I must admit I was surprised. I didn't hear about this until a couple of days ago, but lots of things that happen in the UK these days aren't necessarily...
That's why David's living here.
These are lawyers, they know about these things. I tend to agree, because it does seem to be a fundamental right if you're innocent, before you prove guilt, until you're proved guilty in our system. And if you remove the right for silence, I think you're really undermining all that. At the same time, of course, you can see where Malcolm's coming from. We are one of the worst countries in the world for child abuse. Are we in the bottom 2% or something? It's just appalling. So I can understand where he's coming from, but I have to agree with my colleagues here that I don't think it is a slippery slope. It does open things up.
And Peter, you don't fix it by saying, well, we'll fix it at that end. You fix it at the other end. That's the place to start.
Yeah.
If the police have a very strong hunch as to who caused a serious crime, in a family setting, yet there is this great cone of silence prevailing, at what point can they charge the suspects with, obstruction of justice, perverting the course of justice? Is there any other avenue they could pursue?
That's about it, in my view. They can charge them any time they like if they think they've got enough evidence that they are obstructing. But again, that's a tough thing. They've got a right to silence. So someone who says I am not going to talk to you is not obstructing. Who is a suspect in a case cannot possibly be obstructing the police in the execution of their duty, nor can they be perverting the course of justice. If no one has to talk to the police, and that's the fundamental right. And I think Peter is absolutely right that you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. It really does strike right at the heart of that.
Can I just throw in a curveball? Have you ever been in a situation, say in the confessional setting, where a parishioner has admitted a hideous crime to you, which they have not been held accountable for.
No, thank God I haven't, because that's a terribly, terribly hard place to be. And you know, my Catholic brothers, because they don't have any sisters, as you know, in that sense, I certainly have had to face that. And it's a very, very difficult place to be. In the seal of the confessional for us is paramount. And I thank God I haven't been faced with that situation.
Yeah, David.
But I believe that the general pastoral practice among the Catholic clergy is that although the seal of the confessional is paramount, yet nevertheless the general rule is to withhold absolution until the penitent has gone to the police.
Certainly, and that's exactly what I would do in that situation, I think, if we got to that point.
Yeah, all right.
You can't forgive somebody who's not willing to actually take the consequences, to my mind, of what they've done.
But anything that is said, as you've hinted on, in that relationship is sacrosanct, and it you know, it's governed by that, and it's privileged if it's done in that setting. So again, simple.
Okay. Also on the legal front, Parliament has just passed new laws that will soon allow the police to take DNA samples from suspects whom they intend to charge, and come 2011, any imprisonable offence will qualify. Obviously, the Civil Libs are not too smitten about this. Are we giving rise to the genetic surveillance state? Peter?
Well, part of me says, why not? This makes a lot of sense. How could you withhold that if you're about to be... But again, it's another slippery slope, really. It is saying the government and the powers that be are saying, trust us. Because you take my DNA, you've got extraordinary information about me. Well, you know, take your DNA. Have we got a gay gene? Some of us. Have we got? You know, do we know how long we're going to live? All the kind of things that are in that. Now, if that's secured by the kind of hedges around it and structures around it, will protect innocent people. Fair enough, but you know, it's a bit concerned about that.
Quick comments, David?
You guys are all up for it, I suppose.
Not without hesitations. I mean, I do have hesitations of the sort that Peter has referred to, but at the same time, I am rather more relaxed. You could say it's really just no more than a logical extension of fingerprinting, of birth certificates, of keeping a record about you. And DNA has been very useful in acquitting or clearing all sorts of innocent people who have been wrongly charged.
Aaron
also.
Farmer, recently. Wrongfully imprisoned for rape. Yeah.
Was it Daniel Doherty?
Yes, David Doherty.
Yes. So on the whole, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm in favour of it. It doesn't strike too much of a worrying chord for me. I think that I have enough faith in the system to think that it would be treated appropriately. I share Peter's concerns though, but for me, I would run with it. The issue will be whether the police have enough information to form an intention to charge, and that's the test as to whether or not they use it appropriately.
That's the test. I have to say, I mean, I'm amazed that, in some ways, having not thought about this seriously until this came up, is that police can't take DNA. You know, it just says, what? If someone... But so, there's, you know, that is... I'd have to say I'd agree, really, with you, you guys. But again, there's that hesitancy in there.
We'll see it as it unfolds. Coming up, some local issues, including backyard brawling and bull riding dwarves. It's the Freak Show Parade.